Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies and then talk about them. With me, as always, is the amazing, the incredible, the Ark of the Covenant to my Holy Grail, Kyle Mulford. How you doing, Kyle?
Don't open me up or I'll turn y'all into ghosts and
And melt my face.
yeah.
And I'm Noah Saturn. And drink me, and you'll live forever.
That's weird. Uh, today's podcast is brought to you by the Declaration of Independence, because if you steal our podcast and play it backwards, you might find a clue to a treasure.
That's right. Who cares about the Constitution?
Not me.
Mm-hmm.
What did we watch this week?
We watched the 2004 Nicolas Cage classic National Treasure.
Yes, Nicolas Cage is a national treasure. What did we watch?
That's what I'm saying. We watched the Nicolas Cage National Treasure film, National Treasure.
Oh, okay. Directed by Turtletaub. What was John Turtletaub, the director of Three Ninjas and Cool Runnings,
Nice, nice.
among a couple other things, but those are most notable,
I have seen Cool Runnings. It's not bad actually.
All right. So what's your snowball pitch here, if you will?
Okay. Treasure hunter Benjamin Franklin Gates, as played by Nicolas Cage, is trying to prove his family history is correct by finding out that there is a massive treasure hidden somewhere in the United States, and they were left clues by the Freemasons and the Founding Fathers. Ooh.
Ooh. And they steal the Declaration of Independence.
Exactly.
And dump lemon juice on it.
Because there's a treasure map on the back.
Yes. Yeah, so Disney film. This was brought out in 2004. We start off with Grandpa Plumber, Christopher Plummer,
I forgot he was in this movie.
telling a story to a young Ben Franklin Gates about the story of the treasure and how their ancestor got it from one of the signers of the Declaration, that there was a treasure that was protected by the Knights Templar, and then later the Freemasons. And the only clue that they had was the secret lies with Charlotte. And so Nicolas Cage ends up figuring out what the Charlotte is, or who, or what. And then we cut to present day. However, did you notice when they were talking about the Knights Templar, they're using all there's the pyramid with the eye, the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill and all that. Did you notice the cut shot from the attic to the pyramids being built, and Christopher Plummer's eye was over the unfinished pyramid?
Nice.
I was like, that's kind of a cool shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we cut to current day, and Nicolas Cage is the older Ben Gates, and him and his partner Riley teamed up with someone who's got money to help them track down the Charlotte, because he figures out it's a ship that's stuck in an ice cap.
Yep, Ian Howe, played by Sean Bean, who
Yeah,
does not die in this film.
I was reading the IMDb trivia, and I think one of the first things it said on there is, this is one of the very few films where Sean Bean's character does not die. I was like, well, that's true.
Nice.
But yeah, so they find the ship under the ice, and then find $1 million pipe, right? Is it $1 million? Is it $1 million?
Yep, so Ben's buddy Riley is kind of the computer geek, and he's also functioning as the funny guy for this film.
The comic relief.
Yes. He's really smart in some ways, but he doesn't know that much about history. Well, of course, Ben is an amateur historian who I assume would do really well on Jeopardy.
Yeah. That's one of the funny things is, like, well, when they get they find the pipe in there, and it's like this fancy carved pipe, and he takes it apart, and then he, gets a phrase off of there, and it's a riddle. And it takes him like all of 2.5 minutes to solve this riddle. I'm going, you've had family like hunting for this treasure forever. You figured out where the ship was, and as soon as you get the first riddle, like, you're just like, oh, I've got it. It's this.
Well, otherwise it'd be a very boring film.
All right. That was one thing I found about this movie. I'm like, boy, he is really good at the solving these things. And either that, or his ancestors were really dumb at solving these things.
I think it's a combination of both.
I think so. But then you find out, dun dun dun, Ian is going to double cross him and leaves him there to die.
So,
But does he die?
And then he dies, and then it's all about Ian.
and his quest for the Declaration of Independence.
Yep. So what's fun about this film is that it feels like an old school adventure globetrotting film. Like something it feels like at least at the time it almost felt like a modern day Indiana Jones, except this one was a lot less violent.
Yeah,
There's chase scenes, but everything it's I think it's purposely non-violent. You never really see Nicolas Cage like throw a punch or shoot a gun. He's all about trying to avoid and sort of be more stealthy about it.
he gets shot at a few times,
He
but
does get shot at, but he never fires back, and then there's very little blood. The only blood you see is when he cuts his thumb.
yes, and this was actually rated PG, so it was actually going to be under Touchstone Pictures, but once they got it in the can and saw that it was a lot more family friendly, they put it under the Walt Disney label.
Oh, okay.
Because Touchstone is an offshoot of Disney, but they decided to put the actual Disney label on it then.
Yeah,
Uh,
so then we kind of take a break from the adventure film part, and then we're going to turn into a heist film for a bit. Be where, in order to protect the Declaration of Independence from Ian and his evil gang of mercenaries, they have to Ben and Riley have to steal it first, so then that they can get to the treasure first.
well, because we go through, we went to the FBI, we went to the Department of Homeland Security, and then they go to a person, the actual archives, and played by Diane Kruger, who then gets mixed up in the whole lot. But like, no one believes him, so he's like, "Well, I got to do what's right, even if it's wrong, right, for the right reasons."
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I kinda like this because this mixes 2 of my favorite genres, the, world adventure, treasure-seeking genre and the heist movie. Yeah, and this is kinda fun because you see the dichotomy between the 2 groups where, like, Nicolas Cage and Riley are doing this all stealthily and getting fingerprints and sneaking into the place and all this, and then you see the other group led by Ian just going in, like, just brute force opening doors, blowing stuff up, shooting people.
Exactly.
And then you get I liked, when Nicolas Cage goes into the party and he's talking about, the Declaration and all that stuff, and he talks about how them signing the Declaration was actually an act of treason, and he goes through all the things like jailing and dying and, like, getting killed, all this stuff. What would happen to you if, you had an act of treason back then? And he goes, "And my personal favorite, had their entrails cut out and burned." Just
Exactly. In that,
in that Nicolas Cage
emphasized in
voice.
the way that only Cage can do.
Yes, with that look on his face. It was one of my favorite lines in the movie. "Have your entrails cut out and burned." And then he has that awkward laugh afterwards that he does. But yeah, they sneak around, and then both groups end up getting to the Declaration in the preservation room at the same time, and that's when, Ian shoots at him, and he escapes, but he has to buy the Declaration of Independence. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, or at least a copy of it
But remember, he
from the
paid for
gift
both of
shop.
them.
That's true.
"You owe me $35."
Hmm. And then, of course, this is probably where he makes his first big mistake, is he doesn't have enough cash, so he has to use a credit card to buy it,
Yep, yep.
which
So then,
means that he can be very easily tracked, and so the FBI will know who he is almost immediately.
the FBI is trailing him, led by Agent Sadusky, played by Harvey Keitel,
Yeah, it's always fun when he shows up.
right? Harvey Keitel and Nicolas Cage both played bad lieutenants at one point.
That's true. I forgot about that. It's all connected.
It's separate movies, but they were both the bad lieutenants.
Mm-hmm. And then we meet our kind of our last member of the cast. So when he can't go to his own apartment because it's been compromised by the FBI, where does Ben and Riley go now with their hostage, not hostage, Abigail? They go to Ben's dad's house.
Yes, played by John Voight, who's a
And
bitter
John
old
Voight,
man that doesn't like their family legacy.
so he's playing himself.
Yes, I think so. Is there any movie where he's not a bitter old man?
I don't know. I haven't seen Midnight Cowboy, but
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's where they go in, and he's kind of fun in this movie just because he's like so cranky at them, but then still interested. It's like, yeah, I told you, you need a heat source. Dumping lemon juice on the back of the Declaration, and then he realizes how I like what he's like. How old is that document? It looks pretty old. Oh, about 200 years.
exactly.
And then they they realize FBI is gonna come after him too, just because they're gonna look for anyone related to him, so they tie him up with duct tape and so he can play dumb.
Yep, take his car, and then they're on to the next part because they discover that this is a code on the back. The code corresponds to famous letters written by Benjamin Franklin. And at one point, his dad did have the original letters, like, "Hey, Dad, I need that. I need the letters. You need to take a look at them." He's like, "Oh, Benjamin Franklin really wrote those. Come on, Dad, give me the letters." I don't have them anymore. I donated them to the Benjamin Franklin Institute in Philadelphia. So now we know where we go to next.
Yes, and the rest of the movie becomes kind of a cat and mouse game between Nicolas Cage and, Sean Bean.
Yep, always
Uh
kind of one step ahead and always running into each other.
Yeah, because Sean Bean's like, he was just the money backer, but he's no idiot, and he does understand the clues a little bit too. He's just not quite as adept as Nicolas Cage. So they go through the next one. They look at the letters, and they have a kid go do that because they know Sean Bean is after them. They figure out that the next clue has to do with the Liberty Bell and the tower that it was in. Now, this is the one that gets me. Like, I know all of this doesn't make sense, but this one is when it's 222, the shadow will point where the thing is, and it's like, what season?
Yeah.
that, that's that's not gonna work, buddy. But
And they
it's all in
realized
fun.
it's almost 3. We're too late. And then
I, d-
Riley's
I d-
like, "No, we're not. Daylight savings time."
do do you know who's was the first person to suggest it? Benjamin Franklin. Ah, guys,
Exactly.
he should have quit while he was ahead.
Hmm.
Yeah, so then they find some glasses and a brick that can decipher the clue on the back of the
It's
declaration.
like an older, like a prototype version of 3D glasses where you can like push the lenses up and down to make different color combinations.
Yeah, because there's like blue and yellow lenses on there. And then that kind of led them to where was it? Wall Street, right?
Yep. Our next big chase scene, except this time the FBI finally catches up to him and Ben gets caught.
And then we have
Now,
Abigail and Riley calling Ian and going, "Okay, we need Ben out, and he's the only one who can find your treasure. So you're a bad man. Help us get him away from the FBI."
yep. Then there's a cool setup where Nicolas Cage jumps off a ship into the Hudson Bay.
I I like the line, "Can you see anything? It's the Hudson Bay. We can't see anything."
That's true. It's a very
Or
brackish
no
water.
one can see anything.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there's a big elaborate, they set that up pretty quickly, basically a jailbreak for Ben, and that leads them to finally, a church, and they find a crypt down there and go down below, and then there's nothing left, and so Ben and this is after, Ian got leverage by kidnapping, Ben's dad, John Voight, and so they take him down there, and then Ben and his dad give some bogus clue that was just convincing enough to get Ian to go and leave them down where they'd be stuck if it wasn't a good clue.
It's
And
like,
then we
okay,
find
now what? Well, now we're still stuck down here, and the only way up is where there's bad guys posted there.
well, and they couldn't get up because they took the lift up.
Mm-hmm. And the stairs are rotting. It's like there's another way out through the treasure room.
Dun dun dun. What? There's a treasure room? Yeah. Then they find $10 billion worth of treasure.
Yep. So then they find the treasure. They get their exciting moment. But Riley starts crying, and he says, "What? Look, stairs."
Yeah, there's a couple fun lines from him in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they talk afterwards, and Sadusky is up there and finds him when he comes out of the church, and he's like, "Someone's got to go to prison for this because you guys stole the declaration." And then so they devise a plan to get. He's like, "Well, what if you got a helicopter, we can get to I think it was Boston, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because of the Revere reference. Get to Boston and you can." Arrest Ian. So they do that, and it's because they find out that Ben sees the agent's ring, Harvey Keitel's ring, and he's a Freemason. So he tells them all about the treasure, and everything says you guys can have it. It should belong to the people. And so they arrest Ian, and then they live happily ever after, and they only get 1% of the money.
Which is still a lot of money.
Well, because they assume it's 10. You assume that they're correct in the $10 billion. That's what 10% is a billion. So, or no, yeah. So 1% would be 100 million.
Yeah,
So Riley's all upset about getting 50 million because he got half of 1%.
as
He's
he
like,
drives away in his Ferrari. So,
he's like, you only you only got 1%. I only got half of 1%. We could have had $10 billion. It's like, see you later.
oh, Riley.
Yeah, so that's basically the movie. There's not the thing I'll say about it is there's not a lot of like really grand scenes to talk about. This is a very just by the numbers movie, but it's just fun.
It's just fun, and I think it's well written enough, and the performances are good enough where you want to see what happens next. And I think the real thing that this movie does well, at least for me when I first saw it when it came out in theaters when I was a kid, it was just like this movie made American history look cool.
Right? Because there's some real history in there, but then obviously like there's no treasure map on the back of the declaration. I don't think there's any glasses stuck in the tower by the by the Liberty Bell Tower, but you never know.
Hmm.
But no, yeah, it does make it fun. Like that's what's great about these and like Indiana Jones is they do make like history fun, like and exciting. When in reality, the stuff doesn't happen and history is very boring.
Well, I disagree with you there. History is still cool, and there's a lot of rich, strange, and interesting things about it.
There is. I just say there won't be there's not a lot of adventure to it and treasure seeking. But,
True.
but no, it is cool and it's fun. Before we get into whether we like or not, should we get into Chekhov's Chekhov?
I think so. Let's talk about
Charlotte?
Chekhov's diving on Chekhov's Charlotte.
Chekhov's Charlotte. That's the theme through the whole thing because the secret lies with Charlotte. So it turned out that that was true. The Charlotte was the ship, and then the pipe that they found was the key to opening the treasure room at the very end. So when they found that pipe at the beginning, it came around to the end to still be the key to opening it. And then
Yep.
there was there was something else I was going to mention on that. Chekhov's Declaration of Independence. No, that keeps getting tossed around. I don't know how that thing survived.
Mm-hmm.
It's 200 years old, even if it's in that tube. Man,
It was a very safe tube.
it must have been only the best.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much more Chekhov's checklist there is in this.
I do think of Chekhov's scuba diving. There's at one point they mentioned during when Peter Sadusky is reading like his FBI file that he was a diver, and then he has a diver's watch, and then finally he does jump into Hudson Bay.
Oh, that's true. Yes, that does come around, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, what's your overall on this? Do you recommend this movie?
I definitely recommend this movie. It's fun, and I think it's still a good family-friendly adventure film. We don't get many of those.
No, I think you're right. Especially ones like this that are so just kind of really family friendly. Like you said, they always got to try it like now put in something dirty in there or something for the adults whereas this was just a fun time and good for everyone.
Yeah, you
Um
introduce this to your kid in elementary school or middle school, and then in high school you introduce them to Hamilton, and they'll be good on American history.
right, right. Yes. Cuz these are the most accurate portrayals of history.
Well, it does get them interested in wanting to learn more, and I think that's half the battle.
Yeah, get them watching this, entertaining stuff to get them to seek out more, for sure.
Well, knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
Exactly.
Yes, I would also recommend this movie. It's a good time for you and the whole family, and, yeah, I agree. Introduce it to your kids. What would you do as a double feature?
Oh, I think that's interesting. So, I'm just gonna do for my double feature since this is a movie we both definitely liked. I'm gonna take the cheap one and just go National Treasure 2: Book of Secrets.
Oh, you stole my cheap one. I'm gonna
Aha!
do the same thing because you know what? They're both kind of fun.
That's true. They're both fun.
And it makes a good double feature because you just enjoy it all the way through and just good cheesy treasure hunting fun.
Allegedly, we're finally gonna get a National Treasure 3.
Oh, really? I think I'm going to watch National Treasure 2 again over the next couple weeks and then try and get into the Disney Plus series and see what that's all about.
I suppose another good version, instead of watching National Treasure 2, you could watch The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage as Nick Cage
Right?
and Pedro Pascal.
Or you could do the other let's find hidden clues in history with Tom Hanks and do Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, except one of those movies is good.
uh, on, on that note, should we go into? I'm still sticking with my National Treasure 2 recommendation.
All right,
Just watch
fine.
both of them. They're on Disney Plus.
That's right.
Let's go into what we're gonna watch next here.
What will we watch next, Kyle?
Let's spin the wheel, 70 or better, and spin it. We have Jason Bourne dodges a ruthless CIA official and his agents from a new assassination program while searching for the origins of his life as a trained killer.
Let me see.
You know the
Uh,
character. Do you know which movie it is?
I'm gonna say Born Ultimatum.
It is The Bourne Ultimatum from 2007,
Nice.
and this is on Netflix.
All right, nothing like a good 2000s action movie.
Directed by Paul Greengrass.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be good. That'll be fun.
Yep, take your nausea medication now because the camera's about to get shaky.
Right. All right. In the meantime, while you're going to get your meds, you can catch us online. I'm on Twitter at AwesomeKM.
And I'm also on Twitter at Noah_Saturn. That is spelled Satern.
And we're on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. And you can email us at we don't know what to watch at gmail.com. Like and subscribe and let us know what you've been watching. Have you seen National Treasure? What did you think? Comment below.
And is National Treasure just one step up from the glory, one step towards the glory that is Con Air?
Yes, with Cyrus the Virus.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, don't try and steal the Declaration. That's bad.
Or do. That's good.